Hello everyone, welcome to Res Snap, and my name's MJ, and we're continuing to carry the torch for Drewberry with Snap or Pass. Today we've got Gilgamesh, or Gilgamesh as they pronounced it in the developer update. I don't know what's correct, probably them, they're the experts. Although they did say Kazar and not Kazar. Anyway, he's a 5 energy, 7 power card with an on reveal, plus 1 power for each of your other cards in play with increased power. So, we're going to look at the mechanics, synergies. We've got some decks for you later on as well. But let's look at the Season Pass and the Season Pass variants right now. So, the paid for card back this season is this like Eternals logo one. Looks pretty cool. And the other variants in the Season Pass are a Blade one. This is a very cool blade. I think this might be the best blade variant, actually. I currently use the Pixel one, which is okay. But I'm going to replace it with this one in any decks I use Blade in. And the other variant used to be Hela. This has been swapped out for Gamora. I don't know what Gamora's interaction or relation with the Eternals is, but this is a pretty cool variant. Not my favourite, it's kind of like a swashbuckling one. Pretty cool. And then Gilgamesh's variant. This is by Francesco Tomaselli, or Tomaselli. I'm not good with the pronunciation, let me know if you know how to pronounce it, and if I'm butchering it. But yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm not blown away by the variants this season, I have to say. They're all by this Francesco person. They're good, just not my personal preference of art style. Anyway, Gilgamesh, let's look at this card and the mechanics and everything to do with him and see if he's any good. So, what is Gilgamesh actually all about? So, this increased power, this is like the first time we've heard the specific terminology, and we recently had the developer update video, which showed us that it does encompass any form of increased power. So that includes things like Ironheart and Angela, so permanent increased power, as well as ongoing abilities like Devil Dinosaur or Blue Marvel, temporary buffs, all of that sort of thing. Yep, they count, it all counts, and also there's loads of locations which will count towards this as well. He is an on-reveal, so that means that you can do on-reveal shenanigans. Wong, Grandmaster, there's really really interesting synergies that I want to talk to you about in a minute when we get to the decks. So stay tuned for those. But yeah, in general, actual pros. He is generic enough that he might fit into most decks, or that he could fit into most decks. Basically, if you need a high power or just a decent power stick in your deck, and you've got a spot for a 5 cost, he'll be pretty good in most decks. Not only do most decks have some form of increased power, they'll be doing something. Angela is a very popular card. Blue Marvel is a very, very popular card. But there's loads of locations that give you increased power. I've got Xandar on screen, but there's plenty more to name but one. Stark Tower. So yeah, there's opportunity for Gilgamesh. It's definitely there. There's also just loads of cards that synergize with him. I've mentioned several already. I've mentioned some more on screen. Kazar, Devil Dinosaur. There's plenty more besides that. America Chavez, Okoye, Nakia. Bust out. Is it time to bust out your Nakias and your Okoyes? Maybe it bloody well is. He's got quite a high ceiling at 518, so he can become a 518. That is literally, though, that is literally the top. Like, bar shenanigans, that is the pure top, because that is if you've got every single other spot filled. And, yeah, I've already said there's lots of locations that increase power. Now, some of his cons. To make him have a reliably high power, you really need to build a deck around him. So you need to include your Blue Marvel. You need to have like some sort of zoo build with Kazar. Or you need to be focusing on those cards that add power. That's to get him reliably high. Which means that there's just easier ways to get cards with high power. This guy is a 5'7". I mean, Mockingbird is a 5'9", and she can get discounted. So she's already got 2 up on him in a way. So yeah, it's just easier to get higher power cards in different ways. And the decks that he makes the most sense in already have high power cards, or they already have the equivalent thing that you'd be using Gilgamesh for. So there is a question there on how useful he truly is. Next up, let's talk about his counters. Kind of not loads of counters, to be honest, guys. Shadow King is certainly going to counter some of his ability here. So if they are Shadow Kinging and swooping in before you've played your Gilgamesh, you're going to get a smaller Gilgamesh than you may have expected. Not only that, but also Shadow King is like a double counter because Shadow King can target Gilgamesh himself. Cosmo is a very obvious counter. It will literally just stop Gilgamesh's ability from triggering. And Enchantress is kind of like a sideways counter, because some of the best cards with Gilgamesh, I mean the best card with Gilgamesh probably is Blue Marvel, because that literally affects every single card you've got out. So if they can sneak out the Enchantress before you've played Gilgamesh, that's going to fuck you up. Okay, let's move on to the key synergies and some deck ideas that I've got for y'all. So, key synergies, some of the best cards. Angela, one of my favourite cards in the game, for sure. She is only going to count herself, of course, so it's only one tick, but it's a tick all the same, and it's a low cost one as well. I think Ironheart is going to be pretty decent. If you can get enough cards out before Ironheart, and you don't have your Blue Marvel or your Khazar, this is another way to get power, and it gives Gilgamesh essentially a +3, so he's coming out as a 5/10 then. Not anything to sniff at. Blue Marvel and Khazar we've talked about extensively, but how about these on-reveal shenanigans that we touched upon? Absorbing Man and Grandmaster. Okay, so let's say you are playing a zoo deck, and you've got loads of 1-cost cards down already, then you play Khazar on 4, then you play Gilgamesh on 5, let's just say that you played Squirrel Girl early doors, and maybe you played Nebula early doors too. So you've got four cards benefiting from Khazar, and then Gilgamesh comes down, getting the +4, not bad, 5/11. Then what if you play Absorbing Man as well? Absorbing Man's coming down as like a... Well, he gets the benefit from Gilgamesh as well, to be fair. So he's coming down as a 4/9? Not bad. But then how about you do Grandmaster? That 4/9 then becomes like a 4/15 or something? Not bad. There's definitely some shenanigans that can happen. So, some of these shenanigans and some of the deck ideas... I've got, first one is Basic Bitch. This is just your basic, most easy way to get Gilgamesh high power. And also probably the deck that I think will probably be the best with him. And it's basically just slotting him into like a Patriot deck, with a bit of zoo shenanigans as well. So we got on the Patriot side of things, we've got Mysterio, Mockingbird, Ultron, Patriot and Mystique Classic. So you've got one route you can take is with Onslaught, doubling the Patriot, and hopefully you've got enough stuff out. Hopefully you've got your Mysterio and your Squirrel Girl out. Or maybe even you play the Onslaught on the location with Patriot and Mystique and on Ant-Man. So you've got a really tall location, and then hopefully some other stuff going on everywhere else. Not bad. But then of course you have... Shall we talk about Gilgamesh? This is what this video is about. So your curve could look like Squirrel Girl, Mysterio. Maybe you then hit a bit of Dazzler into Khazar, into Blue Marvel, and then your final turn could be something like Gilgamesh and Ant-Man. It's quite a lot of surprise power to put down, especially if you only need one location. Like maybe you're dealing with some flooded locations or some difficult to access locations. You've already got stuff in them via Squirrel Girl and Mysterio, so you're only gunning after one. If you can drop Ant-Man followed by Gilgamesh, and it should be in that order by the way, because remember, ongoing abilities do count towards Gilgamesh, so Ant-Man's going to count towards him. So make sure you get your ordering right. Ant-Man into Gilgamesh. Oh my god, guys. I can't even imagine how much power that is. Something like +8-ish. So in that, if you're going tall in that one location, what? With the Ant-Man being 5, Gilgamesh is +8, plus his base power of 7, this is like 20 power. It's not bad, right? It's not bad. Then my next idea is Secret Gilgamesh. This is where... Excuse me, adjusting my seating position and having a small sip of water. Secret Gilgamesh uses the Veil of Invisible Woman to hide what you're doing. So you stick behind Invisible Woman, you stick your Khazar, you stick your Blue Marvel, you even stick your Gilgamesh at the end. Son, outside of your Invisible Woman, you want to be sticking maybe some, you could play like Maria Hill, get a 2-drop out, get a Dazzler out, you definitely want to play them outside of Invisible Woman. Keep your opponent on your toes. On their toes, not on your toes. Don't get them on your toes. Get them on their toes. Anyway, turn 5. Hopefully you're Blue Marveling. You might be Black Swanning. Black Swan is fine, because on the final turn you then get down all of your free 1 costs. Hopefully you've got a Khazar hidden underneath Invisible Woman, and then you get your Gilgamesh down on top of Invisible Woman. They don't know what the hell you've got cooking underneath there. At the end of the game, boom, you've got this almost zoo stuff happening. Loads of free 1 costs that come down, and then you've got a really tall spike in the middle with Sorry, it doesn't necessarily have to be the middle. But with Invisible Woman and Gilgamesh popping out, they ain't gonna know what hit him, son. And then finally, the last deck I got for you is Wakanda Mesh Up. Because like Gilgamesh, innit? Like mesh. Awful. So we've got our Wakandan cards, Okoye. We've got Ironheart in here. She was in Wakanda forever. Deal with it. We've even got Black Panther, and this is where we've got some on-reveal shenanigans here, guys. So this is, I mean, it's basically a Black Panther deck at the end of the day. Wong, Black Panther, but we've got like the sideways route you can take with Gilgamesh, who, sure, maybe doesn't get as big as Black Panther, but can still get quite good. You know, if you get the Wong down, especially. Let's say you've Okoye'd. Let's say you've got a Hawkeye and a Nebula that have got boosted power. Maybe your Angela's boosted. You're easily going to have 4, 5, maybe even 6 cards with boosts. Let's say you got 5 cards with boosts. Buffs, if you will. Gilgamesh comes down as a 12. Let's say you've got the Wong. He's coming down as a 17. Zola it on the final turn. That, did I say 17? That 17 is becoming like 22. 22 in a couple of locations, and you've got all the rest of your buffs as well. Seems alright. Seems like it might be quite fun. But the ultimate question, this is snap or pass, guys. Is Gilgamesh or snap or pass? It's a pass. I know I've sort of like talked him up a fair bit during this video. Do you know what? I think he's fine. In my star ratings video, I gave him 3 stars. And I think that's still true. The thing is, I think he's one of the weaker Season Pass cards they've made in a while. They usually make the Season Pass cards sort of broken, to be honest. So, it's a little surprising. Do you know what? Whilst I say pass, I'm still getting the Season Pass. I get all the Season Pass. I'm an absolute Marvel Snap fiend addict. So I can't say I always will, but I certainly always have so far. So I will be getting him, and I'll be experimenting and stuff. But I don't think he's mind-blowing. If you're one of these people who doesn't get every Season Pass, I think this Season Pass is probably skippable. He's fine. He can fit in some decks. He might be fun. But ultimately, I don't think he's going to change the meta or do anything too crazy. There we go. That is the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you are new, please do consider subscribing. We are on the surge, the race, the rush to 1,000 subscribers, which is a number hard to imagine. It's like double 500. Well, that's what we're on now, by the way. It's like roughly 500. So we've got a long way to go. But hey, let's go for it together. Thank you very much for watching. If you can't be kind, be honest. And if you can't be honest, be the saviour of your village. Cheers.